The roar of applause fills the sterile hospital corridor. It is a wave of sound that has nothing to do with healing and everything to do with justice. At the very center of it all stands Nurse Ana Oliveira. A single tear escapes her eye, tracing a path of pure, hard-won vindication down her cheek. All around her, the scene is electric. Doctors have stopped their rounds, patients have stepped out of their rooms, and administrative staff have abandoned their desks, drawn by the commotion. They are all on their feet, their hands a blur of motion, their faces beaming with profound respect. Standing opposite her, pinned against a wall by the sheer emotional force of the ovation, is Alastair Finch. The billionaire's custom-tailored suit, which hours ago screamed power, suddenly looks cheap and ill-fitting. His expression of smug superiority has been shattered into a million pieces of disbelief and raw public humiliation. He glares at Ana, the nurse whose melodic Portuguese accent he had so cruelly mocked, now being celebrated like a conquering hero. The applause thunders on, leaving one burning question hanging in the electrified air. What just happened here? This is the story of how a nurse, judged not by her skill but by the sound of her voice, became the undisputed hero of an entire hospital. But that powerful, soul-affirming moment of applause didn't happen by accident. It was earned in the face of pure, unadulterated arrogance. In the next few minutes, we're going to reveal the exact, humiliating phrase the billionaire used to try and shame her in front of her colleagues, a verbal weapon designed to crush her spirit completely. We will also uncover the rare, almost forgotten piece of medical knowledge that only she possessed, a crucial detail from her unique background that became the razor-thin line between life and death for a patient in crisis. And finally, you'll find out who the unexpected ally was that started that incredible round of applause, turning the tables on the most powerful and feared man in the room. It's a story of courage, respect, and hidden strength you won't want to miss. But first, we want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments. Have you ever felt underestimated at your job? Hours earlier, the hospital corridors were a picture of controlled calm. Nurse Ana Oliveira moved through her rounds with a practiced grace, her gentle voice and its melodic Portuguese lilt a source of comfort for an anxious elderly patient. She'd murmur soothing words in her native tongue, a soft cadence of reassurance, before smiling and translating. "Don't you worry, my dear, everything is okay." Her colleagues relied on her, a steady, calming presence on the often chaotic floor. But a different kind of tension was brewing in the administrative wing. Suits scurried down hallways, voices hushed and urgent. The reason? A visit from Alastair Finch, the billionaire benefactor whose massive donation could either save or sink the hospital's new pediatric wing. His reputation for being brutally demanding preceded him, and every staff member felt the pressure. No one wanted to be the one to make a mistake. Ana, oblivious to the storm gathering on the top floor, was simply focused on her patients, completely unaware that her world and his were on a devastating collision course. The calm was shattered when Alastair Finch swept onto the floor, flanked by a phalanx of nervous administrators. He surveyed the ward as if it were a dirty acquisition he was being forced to buy, his young daughter, Lily, trailing nervously behind him. Suddenly, Lily gasped, a small, choked sound. Her face began to swell, her breath catching in her throat. She collapsed to the floor, her small body convulsing in the throes of a violent allergic reaction. While others froze in shock, Ana was a blur of motion. She dropped to the child's side instantly, her training taking over, assessing the severe anaphylaxis.
Looking up at the panicked billionaire, her words were urgent, clear, and professional. "Sir, your daughter, she needs epinephrine, now!" Finch's face twisted, not with fear for his daughter, but with sheer, unbridled contempt. He waved a dismissive hand, his voice booming down the corridor, a weapon of casual cruelty. "Can somebody get me a real professional? I can't understand a word this immigrant is saying." A hush fell over the hallway. The insult hung in the air, sharp and poisonous, a deliberate attempt to erase her expertise and her dignity in a moment of life-or-death crisis. The line had been crossed, and there was no turning back. The ward devolved into chaos. A senior physician, Dr. Evans, visibly cowed by the billionaire's presence, fumbled with an epinephrine auto-injector and shoved it into the child's leg. But the effect was horrifyingly backward. Lily's airway constricted further, her small chest heaving with shallow, rasping breaths that sounded like tearing fabric. Finch roared, his voice shaking the walls. "You're making it worse! You're incompetent!" Shaken but hyper-focused, Anna spotted a unique, unfamiliar bracelet on Lily's wrist, almost hidden by her sleeve. "Wait, the bracelet!" she yelled, trying to show Dr. Wallace, the newly arrived chief of medicine, who had sprinted to the scene. "It's a specific alert. I've seen it before." But Wallace's priority was damage control with their donor, not listening to the nurse Finch had just publicly shamed. "Step aside, nurse," he commanded dismissively, his eyes fixed on Finch, not the dying child. Just then, a terrible gurgling sound came from Lily's throat as she began to suffocate. Her eyes rolled back. Anna felt a cold dread wash over her. Their protocol, their fear, their prejudice, it was all killing this little girl. She recognized the bracelet from a specialized training program she'd taken back in Brazil. She knew exactly what to do, but no one was listening. The situation spiraled into a waking nightmare. Lily's heart monitor began to scream, a high, piercing alarm that signaled imminent cardiac arrest. Each shrill beep was a countdown to tragedy. Dr. Wallace, his face ashen, looked from the frantic readout to the horrified billionaire. I don't know what else to do," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper, the confession of a leader completely out of his depth. For a sickening moment, it seemed Alastair Finch's brutal arrogance had been vindicated. The so-called experts had failed him. But then, a powerful voice boomed from a nearby doorway, cutting through the panic like a surgeon's scalpel. "For God's sake, listen to the nurse!" Heads turned to see an elderly patient in a gown, gripping his doorframe for support. "She's the only one who has kept her composure, the only one who seems to know what she's doing." Dr. Wallace's eyes widened in stunned recognition. It was Dr. Abramson, the hospital's legendary, notoriously brilliant retired chief of surgery. His unexpected intervention shattered the stalemate, his unassailable authority instantly granting Anna the credibility she had been so cruelly denied. All eyes snapped back to her. Even with the legendary surgeon's endorsement, Dr. Wallace remained frozen, his mind screaming with the legal repercussions. A multi-billion-dollar lawsuit from Alastair Finch if Anna failed was a career-ending, hospital-closing certainty. While he hesitated, trapped in his own fear, the final, dreadful sound they all feared cut through the tension. The heart monitor shrieked its final, desperate alarm before flatlining into a single, cold-hearted, soul-crushing tone. Lily was in cardiac arrest. A strangled sob escaped Alastair Finch.
His immense power, his fortune, his influence, it was all useless. He was just a father watching his child die. "Please," he begged to no one in particular, his voice cracking. "Please, do something." For one agonizing second, a suffocating silence fell, broken only by that monotonous drone. It was too late. Anna stared at the straight line on the monitor, a symbol of total, irreversible failure. She was trapped. She could obey her superior's silent command to stand down, or she could risk her career, her license, everything she had ever worked for, to save a child whose own father had tried to destroy her. In that terrible silence, defined only by the flatline's drone, Anna became a force of nature. She strode past the paralyzed Dr. Wallace, her gaze fixed directly on Alastair Finch. Her voice, calm and cutting, sliced through the tension. "Your money can't save her," she stated, her accent of authority now, not of otherness. "But my knowledge can." Ignoring the shocked gasps from the onlookers, she moved to the crash cart, her hands finding a small, overlooked vial containing a rare neutralizing agent. It was a protocol she drilled 100 times in a simulation lab in Brazil for a paradoxical reaction to epinephrine, a condition almost unheard of in the United States. She administered the injection with unshakable confidence, her movements precise and certain. The room held its breath. Then, a single, life-affirming beep broke the monotone. Then another. The jagged line of a heartbeat returned to the screen, steady and strong. Lily's eyelids fluttered. Anna had done it. She had answered the question of her competence not with words, but with a miracle, utterly demolishing the billionaire's arrogance by saving the one thing his money couldn't buy. Immediately after Lily's heart monitor settled into a steady, life-affirming rhythm, a single sound broke the stunned silence of the corridor. It was Dr. Abramson, the retired surgeon, who began to applaud. Slowly, deliberately, and with the profound respect of one master recognizing another. His action closed the final loop, revealing him as the unexpected ally. Inspired, a nurse beside him joined in, then a doctor, then an administrator. Their relief and admiration built into the thunderous, cathartic ovation from our opening scene. And just like that, every promise was fulfilled. The billionaire's humiliating phrase, "I can't understand this immigrant," was rendered completely powerless by the rare medical knowledge only Anna possessed, a life-saving protocol for a paradoxical epinephrine allergy she had learned in Brazil. As the applause finally subsided, Alastair Finch, completely broken, walked towards Anna. His face, stripped of its power and pride, crumpled with shame. With a voice choked with emotion, the once powerful man could barely whisper the two words he now owed her for the rest of his life. "Thank you." In the end, this story teaches us a simple but powerful lesson. A person's true worth is never measured by their accent or their bank account, but by the depth of their character and the strength of their competence. We see a final image of Anna, radiant in her uniform, accepting a Nurse of the Year award from a humbled and grateful Dr. Wallace. Her quiet strength a testament to her victory. Anna's expertise, her unique knowledge, was her salvation precisely because it was a detail others dismissed as foreign or irrelevant. But what happens when ignoring a small detail doesn't lead to a miracle, but to total disaster? What if the overlooked element isn't a medical bracelet, but a single line of text? In our next story, we'll dive into the shocking downfall of a CEO who lost his entire empire, all because of one tiny clause in a contract he was too arrogant to read properly. You won't want to miss it.